I'm Hallie Labont, and this is Mega, coming to you from Twin Hills Community Church, where every single week we're giving our mega church a tiny family feel. We love to introduce you to members of our church staff, people from our community, and I always find it to be a treat and a treasure. And per usual, I'm joined by my co-host. He's the youth pastor for our high school ministry called Climax. Please welcome Gray Haas.
Jesus is the reason for the season of spring. Hallie, how are you?
Spring has sprung. I am too blessed to be stressed, too anointed to be disappointed, and way too grateful to be hateful. Well, just like Jesus was the good shepherd, our guest today is shepherding good prescriptions our way. I am so excited about this today. Our guest, I am so excited to welcome to the program Raylan Dollenberg. How you feeling today, Raylan?
Hey, yes, it's great to be here. How are y'all doing?
Raelynn, it is really fantastic to see you. And I want to start out by saying not a lot of churches, in fact, I'm not even sure if any churches have what we have when it comes to the type of service you provide.
Yep.
And that is, we have a pharmacy, well, a drugstore that we call it here.
Mm-hmm.
It's right over, in the second annex. And, you're the guy in the white coat behind the counter. Isn't that right?
That's right. Yeah, it's the perfect place to be. Obviously I have a medical background, but my first background is, of course, with Christ. So
Awesome.
It was a good way for me to put my two things together. And who doesn't need a little health help every now and again?
Isn't that right?
I love that.
It's called Lord's Drugs. And if you aren't familiar, dear listener, and it's, over in the far annex. And Raelynn, you even are getting a drive-through now, right? Where we can drive through to get our diabetes medications, our painkillers and whatnot.
Absolutely. We do not want speed or time in someone's day to affect whether or not they get their health care coverage. And, the annex that we're in, the second annex, isn't huge. So we figured, it might be best to have another way to get stuff.
I love that.
That's awesome.
And when you go into Lord's Drugs and, which is funny, somebody the other day flipped that around and said, I went to Drug Lords the other day and I thought, wait a minute, what did you just say? And I corrected them. But, when you go in there, it feels like the drugstore used to feel, doesn't it?
Yep.
It's got a lot of wood. It's got a lot of candy in the old jars. It's got the ice cream counter. And then you can also get your Lipitor or whatever you need.
Yeah, we didn't want to make it too medicine forward. We didn't want to lead with the drugs too hard. I mean, Drug Lords does make a lot of sense if you're talking about other pharmacies.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Isn't that right?
They're shoving these pills down people's throat that they don't really need. Every person that comes in, we give them a child-sized scoop of ice cream just to see, will that do it? Will that solve what ails you?
Yeah.
Oh, does that work sometimes?
Well, a nice scoop of ice cream and a prayer goes a long way.
Isn't that right?
Gosh, that is awesome. That is awesome.
And I think you're right. I mean, a lot of these places, these drug lords places, I mean, they are just throwing medication at people that they don't even need. And I like that when you go into Lord's Drugs, it's more of a conversation, isn't it, with you about, yes, maybe your doctor said this, but you've also got to have a conversation with you, Raelynn, about, you got the Raelynn stamp of approval.
Yep.
Absolutely. I like to think that everyone in our community, with the love of Jesus, of course, is a self-healer. And so only you know your body. And I just know what to put into it. So I'm 50, you're 50. Together, that makes 100.
Oh, isn't that right? I mean, you can't argue with math. And Raelynn, I'll tell you what, I think that what you're doing, providing the option of may I pray with you? I understand you're here to pick up some tetracycline because it's very clear that you have horrific acne. But would you like prayer? Because you know what, that teen, or maybe even that 30-year-old, sometimes the pimples they keep popping up, and let's say maybe there's a single gal there trying to address her acne, but what she didn't realize until you offered her prayer is that what she's really interested in is a godly man. Praying over her, giving her a little attention, and maybe that prayer talks her out of that tetracycline because, now she has a better idea of what she really wants and needs, That
is so true. Acne must be fixed. When people come in, obviously it has to be dealt with. But there are many ways to deal with it. Sometimes I ask, what's your skincare routine? What's your prayer routine? What's your shower routine? There's a lot of different routines that can really affect the skin. But yeah, we'll pray. We'll get down on a knee. We'll pray to, of course, the Lord. We'll pray to your own skin. We'll pray to the idea of clear, of just clear.
Yes.
Oh, the thing in the airport.
Yes.
Oh, that's
They
worth
are
it.
a wonderful
That's a good
organization.
service.
Really?
That's a good service.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that's really good. It's nice to get the treatment that, you kind of deserve. You don't want to be in that long line with all those Philistines. You know what I mean?
That's right.
That's
And
exactly
Raelynn,
right.
I'll tell you what, the other thing is that the power of prayer is real, and you and I know that. So, if honestly, you could pray over somebody's acne and it clears right up, because nothing is impossible for God. And I know we don't pray for amputees, but almost everything else can be healed by God.
Yes, I prayed away a bunion not last
Yes.
week. Someone had a horrible bunion on their right foot. They said, do I need a toe spreader? Do I need to sort of chisel this thing off? Absolutely not. I'll pray for you. The bunion will be gone.
That is awesome.
I used to, it's fun that you say, that we're self-healing, because I'm from Australia. I'm not sure if you could tell, but I had an old auntie that used to swear that an onion for a bunion would cure it. She'd also say some port for a wart. She would say,
A shiver for a sliver.
What was that one?
A shiver for a sliver. If you get yourself really cold, the sliver will shoot right out of your finger or toe.
Really? Oh, I hadn't heard that one.
There's a lot of really, it's things that people might call offensively an old wives' tale, but it's really an old pharmacist's tale. These are mostly medical processes that were carried out back in the old days when we didn't have a white coat. We didn't always have a clean drugstore. Sometimes these things were done in the field, the manger, the ocean.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, because she used to say Cheshire for the pressure. That was put a cat on the chest if you had high blood pressure or hypertension.
Genius.
Yeah, and I actually had an uncle die of high blood pressure, and they almost saved him by putting just cats all over him. Unfortunately, that did help the high blood pressure, but it was unfortunate because he was allergic to the cats. And it was like, well, 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Yeah.
But I love that you're unafraid to take what I would call ancient wisdom, which is what we traffic here. If we're going to be trafficking something, it's the Bible, and that is ancient wisdom. And I love that you're just down there saying, yes, maybe you could be on Zoloft, but what's something I'm trying to think of a fucking noun for something that you give somebody for depression. Oh, okay. What's a noun that rhymes with depression?
Compression?
Oh, yeah. But you're down there going...
Or expression?
I like compression. Okay. And you're down there going, yes, maybe you could have a Zoloft because you're sad, or the old thing that I've heard you say before, it's compression for depression, where you just really are putting a lot of pressure on the head area, and just a good head squeeze. A lot of times that will snap you right out of it.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, the ancient wisdom. I'm not against new wisdom, or what I call medical wisdom or medical study. I'm not against that. But why are we throwing out the baby with the bathwater? Just because it's old doesn't mean it's mold. You know what I mean? You have to keep the good ideas in circulation. So compression for depression is a classic. You normally just take 2 hands, one on each ear, push inward until they scream. And if that doesn't work, you get out an ace bandage, wrap that around very tightly. Again, hands on ears till they scream. And if that doesn't work, we lay the patient down flat. And then my full body weight compresses their full body weight, of course, until they scream. And then we know the depression's gone after that. 3 strikes and it's out of there.
And then give them an ice cream and send them on their way.
That is awesome. And I love that any old pharmacy. Do you need to call?
Yeah. Sorry. There we go.
Any old pharmacy that we go to out in the secular world, they've got the consultation window, the pickup window, whatever. Well, I think you're a genius for adding the godly embrace window where people can go get in line if they need a godly embrace. And that's another form of compression, because sometimes don't you just think you just need a Christian hug? And I've stood in the godly embrace line, and I think you're an incredible hugger, Raylan.
Wow, that really makes me feel great, I have to say. I mean, I could tell. I mean, most people are feeling good after their hugs, but it feels really great to hear it affirmatively from someone who isn't actively crying.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
a cone for a bone, right? And meaning an ice cream cone for a broken bone, which is one that I just came up with, but thought it would probably work.
I'm going to write that down. That's a great slogan, and we need that. We need those.
Raylan, I did want to ask you. When I was in there not long ago, it just reminded me of that great Christian movie of where you got Jimmy Stewart. You got Jimmy Stewart, and he's in the medicine place, kind of the old drugstore, and he gets smacked in the ear, and his ear is bleeding or whatever. I guess the old guy that ran that drugstore wasn't as good as you, but I just love that kind of, because that's such a heartwarming scene, when you go into a drugstore and the druggist. And I say druggist because I want to make it feel old, but I would say you're more than a druggist,
Yeah. I'm a healer first and foremost. It's how I identify, and I don't want to use that in the new agey kind of way, but I'm there to heal whatever ails you. I have no preference. I don't care what you came in with.
Have you always been a healer? Is that something that was from childhood? It was just a part of your DNA?
Well, no, actually, when I graduated high school, I was looking for jobs, and I saw that pharmacist was one of the best paying jobs for the least amount of school you could do.
Really?
And I realized, wow, what a path. And of course, I already had my religious, leanings and everything. But once I figured out you could make a ton of money doing this, I figured, now that's a way to help both myself and others.
Yes. Oh, I'm going to tell my kids about this. That's a really
that's
good
so.
to know.
It really is.
Really
and so the diploma that says Bible Medicine Academy, that is where you ended up going to school.
Not only did I go there, I founded it.
Is that right? That's
Yes.
awesome.
I had no idea we had a founder.
Wow.
Yes, Bible Medicine Academy is the premium pre-accredited school for medical worship.
That
Fantastic.
is awesome.
And so were you able to work in secular pharmacies with that before, or have you always worked in sort of a Christian setting?
Well, I was able to, but it definitely caused some problems. It caused some problems because you know what they want to do? They wanted to fill them and shill them. They want to fill the bottle and get them out the window, and they'll give a pill to anybody for anything.
Yeah.
And
really will.
once they found out that my diploma wasn't accredited by the Pharmaceutical Association, that would always cause an issue. But what I said was that our program is better.
Yeah.
Because it does both the medical and the sub-medical or the soul healing.
Oh,
That's
the
right.
biblical.
That's right.
The biblical, excuse me. Yes.
Yeah.
And speaking of the druggist from It's a Wonderful Life, he was a raging drunk, which I
really?
imagine
I never understood that. He was?
Yeah, he was hitting the booze. And I imagine most pharmacists are, because, you're back there with all these pills that everybody wants. You have total access to them. Are most pharmacists just hopped up on pills all day and night?
It's a big temptation. It's a big temptation. And I know a lot of pharmacists look like, this is not my word, but nerds.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, they fall prey. They fall prey to what's back there. There's a lot of stuff that can make you feel good if you don't have access to a higher power.
That's
wow.
right.
And
because
I'm not
they
going to
sample
lie.
the merchandise. Yeah.
They sample the merchandise. I do have a few of my own vices, but luckily it's just ice creams, Werther's Originals, Tootsie Rolls, any sort of single package candy. That's what really gets me going. And I know I should quit, but sometimes you just need it.
Oh, I love a Werther's. I'm so glad you said that. And you know what? I don't think there's anything wrong. You know, my son, Day, he's always giving me guff because he's like, how is eating a donut any different than a cigarette? Because, you know, I'm obviously not going to let my kids drink or smoke. And he said, but if, you know, you go and eat a box of Krispy Kremes, isn't that hurting your temple in the same way nicotine would hurt your temple? And I say, not at all, my man. That is apples and oranges. I mean, am I right?
Well, we know if you look back to the earliest religious texts, we know that Jesus loved donuts.
Really?
We
Yeah.
know that. We
Wow.
know that. It's not said implicitly, but it's implied.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. That's right.
I've never thought, like, what is an unleavened donut? I guess it's more of a kind of just a tortilla with a hole in it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be
sweet
cool.
tortilla.
Holy tortilla, yeah.
That would be really cool. And speaking of sweets, is there a technique to roll in the cone so that you make these perfect little spheres? I mean, I can never do it at home when I open a new Breyers or whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I will say learning how to scoop the ice cream in the booth was as hard as getting the all the knowledge with the pharmaceutical, because
Is that right?
I bet I would
Wow.
imagine
people
that. Yeah.
don't know about medicine. They sort of take what you give them and they go,
Yep.
okay, sure, I guess this will help me, you know. But they know about ice cream, and they're going to
Yep.
have comments. They're going to have issues. They're going to say, why is this cone oblong? Why is the scoop not circular? Why is it sort of a little bit square or oval? You really have to please people the way they're looking for, or else they'll throw it back in your face. I can't tell you how many ice cream scoops I've had thrown in my face.
Really?
It's really sad.
That's a
Even at this church.
Even at this church, you know, it's one of those things that people feel really, really personal about. And I
Yeah.
get it. They're sick. They're in there. They're sick, both mentally, both physically,
Yep.
and probably soul wise.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't take it personally, but it is something that I said, hey, rather than have this argument, I'll just become a professional scooper.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, people have a personal relationship with their ice cream, and I think that is really important. And I love how you have the. I don't know any place that's done this. Of course, I don't eat ice cream. I never have. It's way too much sugar for the type of body that I have and the type of goals that I'm making right now in the gym. But one thing that I think is fascinating is just that you put a scoop and you've got this little bucket of hot kind of what I call it milky water back there. And it's just that, and as soon as you see that ice cream scoop cut through with that kind of hot, what would you call that stuff that kind of collects in that? And what is that thing?
Well, that's a hot bucket of milk water.
Okay.
It's simply to heat up the scoop so that it can fly right through there. And I'll tell you, I am having a few issues with the health department.
Really?
Because normally in a, you know, secular ice cream shop, they would have that water circulating, they would have that water hitting a drain. But for me, I don't want to waste anything. I want the whole community's ice cream to touch the whole community's ice cream. Do you know what I mean?
I love that.
That's
Yeah.
community.
It's
That's-
unifying.
And this is why, you know, Hallie, when people come from the outside, like the health department, come in here and they try to, they don't understand what real community is. And this
They
is
don't
real
get it.
community.
The health department is so wrong about all of their complaints with the pharmacy ice cream shop. And I don't say this a lot, but I hope we can edit this out, right? If it's a problem.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I really hope the health department goes to hell.
Yep. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
There's supposed to be a separation of church and state. Am I right?
I know.
Right. And why do we have hell if it isn't for some people?
Exactly.
It has
for
to be
whole
for some
departments.
people. Yes. From the receptionist to the people that print the letters. You're all going south.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
I said something's changed down here, and I couldn't see what had changed in there until you ran into it, which was the plexiglass wall that they put between the pill counter and the ice cream. And I just thought that has really ruined the aesthetic of this place because, yes, you can't see the plexiglass from our side, really, but I'm assuming they're the ones who made you put that up, and I guess maybe to just keep the pills out of the ice cream.
It has completely ruined the aesthetic. It has been good for the pills and good for the ice cream, but it has ruined the aesthetic. It has caused me and my employees to have bumps on our heads regularly, which we don't
Yes.
enjoy.
Yeah.
And it just feels unnecessary. Just tell us what you want, health department. Be clear. Okay, so you don't want pills to go into the ice cream and then ice cream to go into the kids' mouths. We can do that.
Yes.
But we just didn't know that that's what your specific problem was. They're vague. That's the issue with this health department. They're vague and persecuting.
That's right. I mean, the church is tax exempt. We should be regulation exempt. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean?
There should be no health regulations at the church. We take care of our own.
And I like that Superman ice cream. You always keep stock that has the bubble gum chunks in it so that you end up, after your cone, you end up with a mouthful of a big, massive wad of gum. And, you know, I guess because of that, you know, maybe you could have a rocky road filled up with a bunch of herpes pills or something, and you could be
Well, I don't think anybody here needs
scarfing
herpes
those
pills,
down.
though.
I don't even know what you call a herpes pill, but maybe, you know, if the pills go in there, people will be scarfing them down in their rocky road. And forgive me if this is too personal a question, Raelynn, but is your preference a sugar cone or a waffle or a regular?
Whoa. Whoa, that is personal. Yeah, I guess I like a sugary waffle cone. I know that's crazy to sort of take two cones and put them together, but I find that the waffle cone can be a little bland, so I'll add a little extra sugar, and then I'm just off to Treat Town. Absolutely.
Ooh, like a sugar rim, like when you do a salt rim on a glass. That's awesome. Now, what the heck is going on with that regular cone? It's so squishy and there's no flavor.
I mean, this is a lot of talk about cones, but
Well, you know, it's as much a draw as the medicine for us because, as you know, a lot of our parishioners and disciples and everything at the church, they don't know that they need medicine. They think they're against it, and I think sometimes you do. You know, sometimes you do need a herpes pill. Sometimes you do need a scabies pill. Sometimes you need, you know, you have an itchy butt and you need a pill for that. Like some things are good and we need them.
Yeah.
And it's almost as if, you know, the Lord has just put a prayer into pill form. So for the people who are resistant, I find that the ice cream really does bring them in. And the soft cone is simply to upsell. We have the free cone is crap on purpose.
That makes sense.
So that people will buy the more expensive cone.
Finally it all
50% goes into the collection plate.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
That's
well,
awesome.
I guess I will add on to the cone conversation, even though this is a lot about cones, was that I thought it was, you know, Hallie, I don't like to name names, but I had a teen who came to Climax named Beverly Tick. And Beverly, you know, she is hyper. She has what's called these days ADHD, ADH. And she would not take her meds, would she? And what Raelynn did is in the tip and the sort of top of the sugar cone, he would just pack the little Ritalins down into the tip of the cone and, you know, dip it and then dip it and rip it, I guess is what she would say. And
that's what we told her.
It's pretty much the only way we could get her to calm down and shut up.
Some kids really need to be force-fed medicine. And you know, that's whether the parents want it, whether the kids want it. Some kids need to have society tell them to be quiet. Some kids need to be able to behave in church. I mean, what's worse than a loud kid in the pews?
It's just a nightmare.
You know, because I know that they're doing their best, but we're all here to worship. We're all here to come together. We're all here to, you know, really take part in this. And if your kid is annoying, ugh.
Yeah.
Well, answer me this, because you mentioned, you know, people having butt problems and different things. And I'm going to be honest. I've had, wait, what are those things called that you get on your butthole? What are piles? No, the things you get when you're, what's it called when you're hemorrhoid? Because I've had hemorrhoids every single
Hallie,
time I've
honestly,
had one of my children. In the, you know, when I give birth, I get a hemorrhoid. And
I don't think we
here's
actually
what I
need
don't
to talk about this
understand,
again.
Raelynn, is that if let's say, okay, maybe you can explain this to me. If I wanted to pop a balloon,
What about
I wouldn't rub cream on it. So how come cream works on a hemorrhoid?
Listen
Wow.
up, folks. There's a new cone that I heard about. Maybe let's talk about cones again, because honestly, Hallie, you bring this up, and you bring it up in you've already brought this up in situations that had nothing to do with medicine, and now you're bringing it up in the medical one. And I'm just wondering if any new cones are available.
But would you rub cream on a balloon to
What?
pop it, Raylan?
I hate to do it to you, Gray, but we actually have a cone for that. We have
What?
2 cones for that. One goes around the neck of the human because we don't want
Oh.
them looking back there, getting in there too much. And
Yeah.
then one we put around each little individual hemorrhoid, and then we cream it, and then we pierce it.
Awesome.
So it's like a dog cone and then a butt cone?
Yeah, it's like a dog cone and a butt cone. It's a double. A lot of people don't know this, but the dog cone originally came from the human hemorrhoid cone.
Is that right?
We figured
Really?
this works so good on people, we should do it on dogs. And then it was, of course, popularized by dogs. They love them.
So
Well,
you put
yeah.
the dog.
Yeah.
So you put the cone on the person so they don't bite you?
So they don't bite me, yes, while I'm piercing their hemorrhoids. Yeah.
Well, that's a good idea. And speaking of, I mean, you're giving me a real good idea, Raylan, because
I wish you wouldn't.
what if I could put one of those dog cone neck things around like my teens so it's so high it goes over their eyes so they can't look up porn on their phones and stuff. Like that could be a great way to get an adolescent through the teen years without
That's
being able to
great.
look at porno.
A cone for the phone.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
This is great. This could be a business idea. This could be a business idea for the church. I think this could work.
Well, I just, just to get away from that topic, maybe away from the cones in general, away from whatever Hallie is talking about that's going on downstairs. It's always been an issue around here, and I've just kind of got to call it out. But I do want to take the opportunity to ask you, Raelynn, on top of all those things, are you married?
Married only to my craft. Yes, only to the
Okay.
craft. I'm in early and I'm out late. I'm in at 4 a.m. and I'm out at 9 p.m. So that doesn't leave a lot of time to do anything, to sleep, to shower, to change clothes. So I feel pretty dedicated. It's tough. I take a lot of responsibility for everybody in our congregation, and so it's tough for me to give to just one person.
Mm-hmm.
I
I
see.
kind of spread it around. Yeah.
You're a servant for the Lord, even at the cost of you not having romance. And I think that's awesome. And, I do want to mention, because earlier you said that a lot of times when someone comes up to the consultation window or the pickup window, that you regularly ask them about their shower routine. And I think that is very cool and very healthy, because you know what? Anything could go on in the shower, because guess what? Nobody has clothes on in there. And so now it's a slippery slope right there. And I want you to know that my shower routine involves a very thick loofah that I always pick up when I'm in Lord's
It's
Drugs.
just not even
I
on
get
topic,
a
Hallie.
very large loofah so that I have never touched my body, any part of my body with my bare hand. It's a very thick loofah. And I just want to pass that on, that it's right there, right near the checkout of the Lord's Drugs, where you can get a thick loofah. And I think that it's an accountability thing to, we should be answering to you about our shower routines, and you should be making sure that we're not doing anything untoward in there.
I'm
You're
not
an
so sure,
accountability buddy.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful, because as they say, cleanliness is next to godliness. But what
Isn't
they
that
also
right?
don't say is cleanliness is right up against horniness. And
Oh,
horniness, of course,
says
is right
that?
up next to hellishness.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It
So
starts with an
it's-
H in this.
Yeah. That's very
Yeah.
thoughtful of you to only use a loofah. I mean, if I could only get everyone in the congregation to use a big fat loofah, I think we'd all be doing a lot better.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, you do sell big fat loofahs at the.
My brand, yeah.
Yeah, and what I always found interesting is they're not plastic. They're made of whatever that is, an actual sea sponge or something.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
those
Very
those,
coarse, very rough.
one of the first things you see when you come in.
Now, is there any ethical thing in that? Because sometimes sponges, I know in the ocean, are alive. So if you're rubbing, what if there's any part left in that sponge that might be enjoying parts of your body?
Oh gosh, I didn't even think of that. That is a big spiritual risk. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll have to go to horsehair loofahs next or something. We might have to look into that. That's a great point. Thank you so much.
Well, speaking of spiritual risks, I mean, I think you're out there on the front lines making a spiritual risk every day when it comes to giving people what they want, but also not giving people what they want. Because, in this church, we say it a lot. Most people don't know what they want, and the Lord knows best. And as someone who is if Jesus is the ultimate doctor, you are the pharmacist. And I love that you're out there making these really thoughtful decisions for the betterment of the health of our community.
I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate the trust that the community puts into me. A lot of times they'll come in with a diagnosis, with a prescription. They will have already seen a doctor, which I recommend, but they're pretty dogmatic about thinking that's the one way it can go. You know what I mean? The doctor knows best. Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Is the doctor in vestibule too? Does the doctor scoop ice cream? Does the doctor have a personal relationship with you head to toe? I don't think so.
Does the doctor offer godly embraces?
Does
crying out loud?
Does the doctor put a cone on it?
See?
Or sorry, not that.
What is the
I'm
doctor
just saying,
even doing?
I don't know. I'm saying, does the doctor give you a cone, not put a cone on it? Because that's another thing that we talked about.
Right. I do think doctors are smart. I do. I don't want to take away from a doctor, but I do think they should realize there's got to be some wiggle room in these prescriptions. They're very specific, even though they're written terribly. But I take it as a suggestion. I take it as a jumping off point.
I love you. I mean, I love the poster of Anthony Fauci that you have there too. That just says, it's a wanted poster.
Absolutely. Oh, we're gonna get him. We're gonna get him.
We could cut it there.
I think we're gonna get him as the flow.